Hi, I'm Mike Pengra. You're listening to Ken Pomeroy on Radio Heartland.
Talking too loud, they can hear you way up in the sky. With the days getting darker, coyotes are nigh. Time drags on and there's nothing new to say. My mother keeps lying, saying there's no other way. Send me back to where I was before I knew how this felt. Take me for what I am. No more the devil's hiding in the Bible Belt. The devil's hiding in the Bible Belt. The 1st of November, I know we'll be losing to frost. The crops are all in and the peaches have rot. The grass stays greener, 'cause God only wants what's right. That's all I knew till the baby died. Send me back to where I was before I knew how this felt. Take me for what I am. No more the devil's hiding in the Bible Belt. The devil's hiding in the Bible Belt. You're talking too loud, they can hear you way up in the sky. With the days getting darker, coyotes at night, coyotes at night. There's coyotes outside. Send me back to where I was before I knew how this felt. Take me for what I am. No more the devil's hiding in the Bible Belt. The devil's hiding in the Bible Belt. Oh, the devil's hiding in the Bible Belt.
I'm really happy to be in the studio with Ken Pomeroy today. Ken, thank you for coming back to Minnesota.
Absolutely. We love it here.
Yeah, Ken's latest album is called Cruel Joke. It came out last year, actually, and it's been one of my favorite albums since I got it.
Thank you.
You're from Oklahoma. You grew up wanting to be a singer-songwriter. What got you into that interest?
I wouldn't say that I wanted to be a singer-songwriter. I think that the path laid itself out a little bit. I showed interest pretty young. I was writing poetry and being weird whenever I was little. And then I heard John Denver for the first time. That's a big part of my, coming of age story. But
Leaving on a jet plane, right?
leaving on a jet plane, yeah, that was kind of the whole reason I got into playing music. And I kind of was always surrounded by music. My dad was in a band. There family members and friends who would play music around me. And then I started playing guitar, and then it just kind of like snowballed into this bigger thing. I'm thankful for.
Yeah. You started you're in your early 20s now. So when you started, what was it about leaving on a jet plane that got you interested?
I think it just was one of the first times that music had made me feel something. Like I heard that song and I just remember feeling like sad. And I thought it was really cool that a song or a person singing a song could make me feel like that. And I wanted to do that, or at least try to do that.
You've been writing songs for a while now, and tell me about your songwriting process. I mean, and what does it do for you?
Ooh, okay. The process is kind of quick. Like, it kind of is a spark of something. The easiest way I can explain it is like when you have to go to the bathroom. You just like okay, I know that I need to, so I'm gonna go do that. And it takes like an hour and a half, and then I have a song. And it's like, I don't know, it's a weird thing, but it is definitely it's definitely something that I need in my life to be able to process things.
If you didn't have it, what would you do?
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I've thought about quitting playing live so many times, but every single time I would still be writing songs for myself, you know?
Yeah. You said something in your bio about writing songs. Writing is the only way I can fully express an emotion and feel like I got it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Going to the bathroom, I get that now.
Yeah.
Makes full sense. You also said, I'm not writing and playing music for other people. I'm just allowing other people to witness what I'm doing for myself.
Yes.
Self-medication in a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Talk about your record, Cruel Joke. You've got a new one coming out in the next year as well, but I've been playing the songs from Cruel Joke and I've been in love with them for a long time.
Thank you.
Talk about making that record.
Yeah, making that record was definitely a learning experience. I feel like it kind of started out with Dakota and I just playing really terrible local shows. And it was like we were playing in other people's bands, and it was just like, it just sucked. And one night I remembered we were sitting in his car in the parking lot of a venue that we had just played. And I say venue very, very lightly. But he was just like, what if we tried to make a record of the songs that you have compiled? Because I had so many at that point, just over the years. And I was like, well, okay, let's try it. And so we, moved to Tulsa to finish this record, and we recorded it in a house that we were living in Tulsa. And it was tumultuous just because of there was another person that we were working with that just didn't really have the same vision as the two of us. And Dakota is really one of the only people that I've ever met that has just naturally the same kind of artistic vision. And we have very similar tastes in music, and he has very good ideas in the studio. So that record was definitely setting up for the next one, I think.
Which comes out next year. You've got an EP coming out in August, right?
Yeah, August 21st, I think. I'm not sure.
And then another record in the next spring, maybe?
Yes, yeah. I'm not quite sure what month that will be, but March, April, May. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how long have you actually been touring? A touring musician?
I guess, well, it's hard because I went on my first quote tour when I was 16. And I went, it was kind of like the Midwest, but then I played some shows. I released my first record with Horton Records, which is a nonprofit in Tulsa, and they still do really amazing things. But he really helped. Like, I got to play in Europe and kind of around the Midwest. But then I feel like once I really started touring, I was actually in a bluegrass band with Kyle Nix from the Turnpike Troubadours. Yeah. And I was playing guitar and singing background with his band, the 38s. And that was, I think, where I learned a lot, good and bad, and just witnessing, like, if I was a band leader, what I would and wouldn't do. And then Dakota and I started touring really heavily, I guess 3 years ago. And it's been nonstop ever since.
Christmas makes a place in the middle of your eye. Counting the faces you see in the sky. Oh, counting the faces you see in the sky. Come on, cowboy, pick up the pace. I'm not a cowboy, whatever it takes. This coyote's been walking against the wind, only for the fat and burn-ins, only for the fat and burn-ins. Family heirloom sitting in the grass, talking about money, switching flags, carpeted bathrooms and vinyl floors. I guess a cruel joke is all we can afford. I guess a cruel joke is all we can afford. I guess a cruel joke is all we can afford. I guess a cruel joke is all we can afford. Pareidolia, tell me what you see. Envision you lying in the debris. I envision you lying in the debris. I envision you dying in the debris.
How has your songwriting changed and matured as you have over the years?
Ooh, gosh, that's a good question. I honestly don't know. I think it is in a way less personal.
Less personal.
Yeah. It's like I can separate. It's instead of like putting all of my feelings out on the table, I can make it someone else's feelings and then put it on the table, kind of thing, like to where it's separated enough. Because I was really struggling with playing songs that were just too personal, and I didn't want to play them every night, and I didn't want to like just every single night emotionally splay myself out on a
Yeah.
a freaking platter. But yeah, I think I'm working on that, trying to like separate myself a little bit, because it's a lot. It's a lot.
Kind of like writing a diary, I suppose. You should get all your feelings out there once and a little too personal, maybe.
Yep.
Yeah.
And everybody hears it.
One of the songs you did recently was a cover of Gillian Welch's song,
Miss Ohio.
Miss Ohio. I just love that song.
Yeah.
What do you love about that one?
I mean, I love everything about that one. That one is also a song that I had been playing since I was, 13, 14, 15 years old. And Gillian and David both were such a huge inspiration for me, and Dakota as well.
They're the nicest people in the world.
I've never like formally met them, but
sweet.
we've exchanged some Instagram messages, and it makes me want to cry and throw up all at the same time. I'm such a huge fan.
Yeah. I'm really enjoying your music, and I'm looking forward to hearing your next album. What about after that? Do you think you'd keep on doing singing, songwriting the rest of your life, or do you see yourself doing management or
No, oh, absolutely not.
living on a jet plane?
I don't know. I mean, I think my only choice, really, like I said, I've tried to quit plenty of times, but it always calls me back. And I honestly couldn't picture myself doing anything else. I really enjoy, it's hard, but there are moments, a handful of moments that happen that you're just like, this is why I do this. And I wouldn't be able to get the same feeling out of really anything else. But I always joke that eventually I'm going to disappear and no one's going to be able to get a hold of me. And I'm going to be like raising mules in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Will you take a moment and introduce the folks in your band today?
Yeah, absolutely. We have Dakota McDaniel, who is my musical partner, who produced Cruel Joke and also this upcoming record. And we've been playing together I guess, like 4 years. And just been a very long journey together. And then we have Ramsey Thornton, who plays banjo and sings as well. And he has his own record. It's really great. It's called I Called It. I sang on a song of his. And then we have Cole Hollyman, who plays drums and has been a very long time friend of Dax. And we just got along so well that it just worked out that he was going to be in the band. And then we have Mike Rose, who I've actually known the longest. I think I met him when I was like 14 years old, and we played in a band together back in Oklahoma. And actually, I went on my first out-of-state gig with Mike.
Really?
Yes, playing in a band called the Flycatchers. But yeah, Mike's been the bass player in many, many, many different settings of this band. So he's been the constant.
Well, ever since I've been exposed to your music, I've become a huge fan, and I wish you all the best in the future.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for coming back to Minnesota.
Absolutely. Can't wait to be back again. I know a long-winded story. Who let the dog outlast me? Just let him fall in all his glory. Start pinning stars on underglass. Dead steer I had in bird's eye. The crosshairs I had in bullseye. Bullseye. So hard keeping out of style. Look over and ask you what I do. The dead steer I had in bird's eye. The crosshairs I had in bullseye.
Thanks so much for listening today. If you like what you heard, you can like and subscribe to Radio Heartland. You can check us out on our YouTube channel, and thanks for listening.